are so many changes going on for everyone right now that it's a good time to come together to really recognize what lessons and what insights are we getting as we move through these changes. So that's what Tom and I are together here talking about today. Hey, Tom,
Hello, Teresa.
it's been a while since we've been around the table. It's nice to have you around the table again.
It's great to be here.
Not like don't ever see each other since we're in the same house, but it has been a couple of weeks since we've done an episode.
Yes, it has.
And there's been a lot going on in our lives. And so we kind of wanted to share today, like I said, in regards to the massive changes and the upheavals and the situations that shift and, the sand shift beneath our feet and how do we move through these times? So for myself, I've been guided to return back to the workforce. And so this has been quite the amazing endeavor, I'll say, just because of the fact that in the last week or couple weeks, I've been, putting in for jobs and getting accepted and having interviews and online interviews and having to take tests for things. I've just gotten a bigger picture of where I'm at as a soul and what I've experienced this lifetime, and also just some insights along the way. So I'm real excited to be here and share that with you guys today.
Sounds good. Well, I know one thing I want to share about is that as I've moved through different steps, I unfold the next step, and the meaning of what I'm getting involved with becomes more clear to me. So to talk about my sensitivity the last couple of weeks, that's what I've been really regrouping, is this idea that, I have an inkling, and logically I know what the next step is for something. But I've noticed that if I don't take the first step, I don't really know the second step, until I kind of take that first step, and then I get more acclimated, or I get more oriented to what's going on. And I know that for you and for myself, it's really something to find out, like, where the state of the art is with all that, with moving into the business environment or back into the workforce. And I'm really excited to hear about, some of your experiences working with spirit in sort of an everyday kind of job situation.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing, is because it's been 30 plus years, a couple weeks over 30, because when I had my first daughter 30 years ago on August 31st in 1994, 94. Yeah. I know. I'm like, what year was it? It's that right before I had her is when I stopped working. So it's been over 30 years.
Well, you've always worked, but you just worked for
outside the house.
yourself, or you had your own
Absolutely. Yeah,
little
massage
business.
therapist and doing
Yeah.
our spiritual work the last few years. But it's interesting how, and I like to say this too, that, my job, what I want to say, my job path this lifetime, or what I've been doing, my business path, has been nonlinear. So I didn't follow the normal. What I did is I really followed Spirit's lead. And long before I even recognized that I was doing that. And I say that by, I went in the military. That's so unusual. Why would I go there? Well, that just led me into the next path and the healing and on and on. And so with being guided recently to go back into the workforce, and really what I found out for myself in the last week or so I've been doing it, is that I am in such a different place energetically from the work I've done the last few years, that I'm able to really step back and recognize situations. I'm able to step back and discern energies. So let's give a little bit of examples of the things I've been through the last couple of days. So a couple things that have come to me the last couple of days is, yes, one is discernment of energy. So the more that I've been aware, especially what starts with me, okay, that's one thing I want to really say first off, is that everything starts with us. So where is my energy? And so I look back at years ago when I was in the workforce, 30 plus years ago, and my energy was, well, that hot energetic mess that I talk about in my Soul Quake book, right? I mean, and so wherever my energy is at is what I attract around me. So it's no wonder I had some interesting situations back when I was working before with coworkers. We had issues with I had issues with coworkers. I had issues with places I was working at. People didn't like me. And it it was kind of crazy. So moving back into the workforce now, where I'm at, I'm really able, well, I'm more calm for one thing, and that discernment of what am I picking up, what am I feeling, and also that ability to cleanse the situation, the area I'm moving into, even before I move in there. So walking into a situation with cleansed energy and my cleansed aura, and I'm put together much better than I used to be, has made such a difference.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So that's one thing. So a couple situations that came up the last couple days where I was at is I noticed one time I noticed people were not really bitching, or they were a little bit complaining, or they were just really talking about situations that they were unhappy with. Okay.
Oh, that's called bitching.
Called bitching. Okay, yes, it's called bitching a bit, but they really weren't. They weren't like that. It didn't go on for a
Wasn't
long
over the
time.
top, but it
No,
was,
it
yeah,
was. We'll call it subtle bitching.
that's right.
SB,
Yeah.
subtle bitching. And so I was standing there as a new person, and I just recognized, where the energy was that they were, involved in, and I just kind of, was aware. I didn't get involved. I didn't judge. I'm like, because really, what I heard my clairaudient part is, this is none of your business. So that was big, because it's so easy, even not in a business situation, but in life, to get immersed in the bitching that other people do.
Drawn into it. Yeah. And to clarify, bitching is when I have something to communicate, but I just keep talking about it and I don't do anything about it. There could be an issue, but if I'm not going to take a positive step towards resolving it, and I just keep going back and forth with it. But I've often said, like, there's a lot of prestige in our society, like in suffering. So, people will, it's great that, as you say, don't judge them for the fact that, better, because you feel better if you don't get caught in bitching. If you don't get caught in that kind of incessant complaining, or that little underlying complaint, and, oh, they should have done this, and how come they don't do that? But never bothering to communicate. If there's really an issue, like, hey, I really need more lighting at my workstation, go and talk to somebody about that, take some steps to, alleviate that problem. So anyway, I love what you're talking about, because it's so easy to get like, oh, I should be compassionate. I should sort of care about this person's problem, when really it's none of my business. I mean, if they ask me for help, I might give them a suggestion. Well, why don't you speak to the team leader, or talk to the boss, or make a point to, at the end of the day, let somebody know that you need a new light bulb. I'm just making this one up, but so what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I think I really like you sitting here regrouping with me, because being the spiritual businessman, you have a lot of experience with how to interact with people in a business situation. And honestly, I have a feeling that's why I'm being guided to go back into the force, because I need to refine my skills in how to interact with people. Because as Tom and I build up TNT Spirit Works, we eventually want to have a team. We want to have a team that we work with. And so to be able to understand how to interact with people at different places, even if we're all spiritual and understand about energy, we're all obviously different, souls. So we have to understand how to interact with one another. So to me, that's one of the big reasons why I'm at this moment in time being guided to go back into the workforce, is those little refinements that are going to make such a big difference when we start expanding our business down the road.
Yeah, if you're all alone and you're sitting on the mountain, or you're meditating there with nobody around you, it's easy to feel blissful. When you're out amongst people in different levels of consciousness, that's what we're here for, is to get stimulated, to rub up against different, concepts. But one of the other things I wanted to clarify is that, I'm not talking about having some true concern. If somebody needs some help, or they need to be, pulled up from the ground, or, when there's really a need, that's one thing. But to get sort of immersed in their sort of troubles is another thing, but it can be very attractive. It can be very magnetic for people to want to sort of commiserate, You know, oh, they should have done this, they should have done that, or we should do this, or this isn't that, but I'm here struggling through it. And well, why don't we just look at a solution? Or why don't you communicate that solution? Or why don't you find a different environment to work in that's more suited, to your positive attitude? And when you talk about the business of you, all I mean by that, or I'm sure you mean, is, well, what am I here for today? I'm here to stock these shelves. I'm here to find out, how do I handle the cash exchange? And I'm here to accomplish certain things. And what's funny about that is there's actually fulfillment there in just doing the things that I came to do without all that extraneous, somebody's feeling bad or somebody's doing this, that's outside of our focus. And what strikes me is that the real healing is when I can keep my energy centered, when I'm into the business of me being that positive, loving, of service vibration. Probably that's the big key, the being of service, not somebody's servant, but being of service. That heals. That energy, as energy beings, as you were inspiring me to share this morning when you were telling me about your experiences, it's like, well, we're energy beings. I'm a soul. I'm here to learn and grow. I have my own purpose and thrust. So I'm going to radiate my energy out no matter what. So what do you want to radiate? I want to radiate love, compassion at the right time. But sometimes compassion is letting people have their spiritual learning experience.
Well said, Tom. And as we're talking about this, the business is because I'm moving back into the workforce for a while. This also can go for your personal, your social. So however,
Right.
whatever you're going through right now. I mean, I'm going through this thing with my business, so that's why I'm sharing and showcasing it in that aspect. But if this is about your personal, or if this is about relationships or your social, maybe I'm hoping you can take away some good nuggets for yourself in this episode. And so the second thing I want to go into is, so I applied for a variety of jobs. So I don't have a degree. And I'll tell you, here in America, you have to have a degree to get any kind of work or or go move into a business that, you can really make some good money, right? So I applied for several things. And so one thing that I got was kind of a lower income, based job because I don't have a degree. And so, but I do have skills. Okay. I have life skills, but I have no degree. And so this job has enabled me to be around a lot of young people because they're coming into the workforce. So I really found it fascinating this week to interact with, a lot of them are teenagers or in their early 20s. There's some 40s. There's a couple, people like in their 50s like me, but majority, I would say, honestly, 90%, 85, 90% are probably high school kids. So that has also been an eye opener for me too, because of course I'm like 40, almost 40 years older than they are. But I recognize that as souls and as energy beings, we're all there for a reason, but it's really fascinating to see how they interact with the situation, with what we're there to do, with the teamwork. And that's been a real eye opener for me. And I have chills. I say this because I have a feeling that there'll be other things that are going to come into my plate too that I need to move into for experiences. But at this moment, to start back into what I'm doing and getting those refinements, it really is. It's almost like I don't want to say natural. What's the word I want to say? It's taking me back a few years, and I'm being able to really regroup where I was at that age. Because at 17, I went into the military. And these young ones are coming into working in a retail situation. So it's an interesting you know um interaction of how of what's going on and where I'm at and where they're at.
So what I hear you saying is that you're regrouping how far you've come, number
Mhm.
one. You're getting reacclimated, you might say, or doing a reality check on where people are at and where you might be of service, from a spiritual perspective, just being an example of enjoying the tasks that you're given. that you respect yourself and you take your break on time, and that you stay in your business vibration because it feels better. It's more fun. It's more fun to accomplish, instead of getting caught up in the gossip or the trivia, of your personal social life while you're at business. Take a break from your personal social that's driving you nuts. Enjoy the fact that you can be in one place. So you were sharing with me, like, on day one, as you were working, what was the first experience you had
Well,
working with your guidance? So
okay,
here we
yeah.
are in a, everyday kind of job experience.
Mhm.
And Teresa is working with her spiritual helpers and getting more out of that experience than just a paycheck. She's,
Well, yeah,
learning and growing.
and that's also because of my awareness, right? I mean, so everyone, wherever
You can't
everyone's,
help but be aware,
I
really.
can't help but be aware. And it's interesting, as first I want to go back a little bit about, the different souls that I'm interacting with. And like, so at one point, I'm just there, right? I'm doing my thing, but I'm radiating the energy that I have within me. So that's a real key for all of us out there. Whatever you're doing, wherever you're at energetically, you're radiating that out. So I go up and I'm just doing my thing. And one very young girl says to me, "I like your energy." And I'm like, and it was so beautiful. And I said, "Thank you so much." She goes, "You seem really nice." And it was naive and young, but it was like raw, but felt so good.
Authentic.
It was authentic. And so that's one thing that hit me the first day. And I was just like, wow, someone that, it's almost like, when a baby just says something out loud, but it's a nice thing, right? So that was just lovely. And then the next thing was I was putting up a stock, and I was by myself. So I was really engaged in this one area that I was putting stock in. And then all of a sudden I had an insight that I'm really being present and there's nothing else in my mind going on. So I don't know about you guys out there, but the listeners, but through my day, I might be doing like this. We're doing a podcast, or I'm working on social media, or I'm talking to a client or something. And there, I'll be present, but there will also be this underlying, I've got the next thing to do, right? And
Kind
then,
of like that subtle stress about what's next and what you're doing tomorrow and what you're doing next week and
yes,
what you've got to get ready. I've noticed the same thing, that there's times when my mind is very clear and then I get a feeling, oh, I want to work on that, and does that feel right? And then I start organizing myself, but I'm not thinking about the 10 other things that I had on the list as well. I'm allowing myself to enjoy the moment by just being involved in that opportunity,
mhm,
no matter what I'm doing.
right. And that's where I was at. So I was involved in stalking this area, and I had the insight of, I'm really being present, like there was nothing else in my mind. And then all of a sudden, I felt the backing of spirit move in.
Wow.
Yeah, I just felt warmth. I just knew it was spirit. And I just was like, wow. And so again, with, all the learnings I'm going through in preparation for, our business expanding and really stepping more into that area again, is that being present no matter what I'm doing. Like right now, I'm not thinking of anything else but doing our podcast. And that was just a couple days ago. So just those little areas that I can learn and access, really, they ripple out to everything I do.
That sounds great.
Yeah, so that was one thing. Let me think of something else. So there was another big one the other day, which I guess is a third thing to share about. So one of the people I was working around the whole day didn't feel well. She had a migraine. And so, I just recognized first, they were talking a little bit about she wasn't feeling well. Then she mentioned I have a migraine. And so but I was doing my thing, and it went on and on throughout the day. But at first, when I heard what was going on, I had the insight because someone said why she may have why she may be experiencing migraine because of where we're working at. So I had this insight come into me, or this awareness of, oh yeah, well I might feel that way too. And it was an energy that I felt, and I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, literally, it was like an instant that you might feel that way too, and you might start getting a migraine, which I never in my life, thank God, have ever had a migraine. But once I got this insight and had that feeling, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not me. That's not my energy. And I don't have to take that on. So I mentally cleanse, which, the cleansing technique that Tom and I have showed. And I have the free cleansing technique video that I have on YouTube for all of you guys, which you can find in the show notes. I personally cleansed energetically, and it went away. It dissipated. So I was really not caught. I was really, well, I was inspired in the sense of that I was able to move through this very quickly, caught the energy, and really being able to understand how quickly and how simply something can move in from someone else that affects me.
Well, what strikes me is your sharing is, I'll come back to what I said earlier today when we started this podcast, where, if I trust spirit, I go to the next step. And sometimes that next step is obvious, or it's logical, or I have a good feeling about that. It's obvious you have to do this first. And if I pay attention to what I'm gaining from this spiritually, like just this, simple little opportunity to be in the present, a simple little opportunity not to accept an outside influence, or pressure. And you have to understand, Teresa's very sensitive. She can feel when, various radio receiver and transmitters and devices are on. This is very in keeping with her sensitivity. And so, it's really great that she recognized this influence moving into her aura and let it go, implemented her solution.
Yeah.
So it strikes me that if I want to get into a better opportunity someday, here's probably the big piece of wisdom is many people find themselves in opportunities that they don't really enjoy. They're not feeling fulfilled. If I want to get into that next step, into that next level, I have a feeling that as long as I go, I recognize that I was really in the present today and I felt the backing of spirit. So what does that mean to me? Like what that means to me is you were really I'm in the right place at the right time right now. What did it mean to you? What would you say it meant to you?
Yeah, I would totally 100% agree with that in the sense that this job, what was one I applied for. So obviously it's one that I would obviously accepted and moved into, but it wasn't my first choice. And there's, still some other
It's more of a stepping stone opportunity.
Yeah, that's exactly
But
it.
you're happy to be of service. And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I think that back to your word fulfilled, like I'm fulfilled just having this experience. And even if it's maybe not, a job that pays a whole lot of income, I'm getting so much out of it. I think that's a key too, is that
so this is where we wanted to get to, is that as you're preparing your energy, you take note of these experiences you have and your energy and your discernment. What I believe you're really sharing about is you're going to evolve so that you're ready for the next step, and you're ready for the next step. So we often think of, I'm going to progress in my job because I have certain intellectual knowledge and I'm going to learn more, and then I should be progressing, and then I should be progressing. We have, it's kind of how we operate here. And the facts are you will progress no matter what. I mean, the longer you're into something, and if you show some promise, good people are hard to find. Lots of people are easy to find, but good people are kind of hard to find. They're a rarer commodity. And you'll naturally flow into the next level of opportunity where your learning experiences are. So if I guess in summary, I'm unfolding. If I recognize, because you told me like that was your first day and you went, I could just really feel spirit. And it was, wow, okay. So now I know what that means, And then the next day you had another opportunity, that was more spiritual. Okay, now I know what that's about. So I'm going to keep practicing that, because things will try to move in again. There'll be other situations, but the more relaxed and cleansed you are, the easier it is to just shed that. And then you're going to get to the next step. And before you know it, spirit's going to help you move into a different environment, open doors, because you're ready to go there spiritually. as much as materially. So to recap, we tend to think of it just materially. I have certain intellectual knowledge. I have certain physical skills, manual skills, you might say, and then I move forward. Well, that's true. But the other side of it is the spiritual. What am I gaining spiritually that will allow me to move comfortably into my next opportunity?
Abso-freaking-lutely, Tom. And the reason why I'll say it that way is because...
Well, you know, I am the spiritual businessman.
Yes, you are, Thomas. Because I had actually applied for a couple jobs, and one I really wanted, which was making quite a bit more money, but I didn't get it. And because I didn't need to get that job at this moment, I needed this job where I'm around other people. I'm having these basic experiences that I can really access my spiritual part and work with my guidance in a situation that's more, I want to say, actually, the words kind of mean like, well, it's more pure. It's simple. It's not complex. And the other things I was looking at moving into, which who knows, like Tom is saying, down the road, I will be given other opportunities. This is just the first one I'm stepping into right now in this moment in time, is that, it's the perfect opportunity. And I think that's really where I want to lead this conversation to, is that no matter where you're at, and we'll talk about business since we're going kind of business today, no matter what job you're in, no matter what business you find yourself in, there's a bigger picture and there's a reason why. Spirit has moved you into certain areas. It might be to, like in my past, when I was in other situations with a lot of bitching, a lot of moaning and groaning, a lot of people in different places energetically. And then we had a lot of conflicts. And that, of course, that was 30 some years ago. But where I'm at now, even though it may be a simple, not high paying job, I'm able to really relax and work with spirit as I'm moving to, I'm filled with chills. I say this, moving with spirit as I'm, going through this moment in time for the next thing to unfold.
Yeah, and they become million-dollar learning experiences. One of my
Nice.
favorite lines.
I like that so much. So that feels like a good place to stop. And you think?
Yeah, we have a lot we can share, and we'll wait for the next episode.
Sounds good.
As we evolve through being a spiritual person in their business opportunities.
Yeah.
And
So if you're interested in checking out those a cleansing technique that would also help you. And now I've been doing this for several years, but the more you do it, the more, you really start discerning what's me and what's not me. And check that out in the show notes. It's a wonderful free video on YouTube that I did. Actually, it's your personal, your environmental, and then the world cleansing. But it's a great place to start if you're looking for something that you might want to start, really cleansing yourself and understanding what you're feeling every day.
yeah, and if you need any coaching in that, I'm available. Just set up a discovery call and we can talk about your situation and circumstances and how to best learn how to work better with your guidance.
Okay. And so until next week with
oh, here comes the lawnmower guys.
We are in our house, everyone. So until next week, just remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey. To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.